Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon Geeky Sparkles sitting this one out. We're going to talk about Nintendo, and it feels like Nintendo's getting a little desperate. Things aren't going as well as expected with the Switch 2. I don't think this Christmas the sales are not that great. Now, I want to be clear, the Switch 2 was a very front-loaded console, but we did a video yesterday talking about console sales in November of 2025, and they're the worst they've been in 3 decades, right? So Nintendo was really hoping for the Switch 2 to be this like massive hit on par with the Switch, and even though it sold very, very well out of the gate, every indication is that the sales are lacking for the holidays, right? And basically everybody who wanted one bought one. I don't know what that means long term. I'm going to tell you, as a Switch 2 owner myself, I am not impressed with the lack of games, and I'm really not impressed with these game key cards. I don't like this system at all. A lot of players don't like this system. You don't actually own your games. And now it looks like Nintendo might be walking that back to try to attract more publishers, more gamers to the platform. We're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do. Oh, no, you won't. She's not here. Never mind. Woohoos. Well, woohoo. There you go. There you go. Woohoo from me. Go out to more, more.clownfishtv.com. That's more.clownfishtv.com for more Clownfish TV. So let's take a look at the situation with Nintendo's console sales again first, real quick, just to paint a picture, and then we're going to talk about what's going on with these game key cards. Now, for those of you who are unaware, the game key cards are basically just a license to play a downloaded game, or part of the game is on the key card and you have to download the rest of it, but you're not buying a full game. You don't own your game. And I hate the virtual game cards that they do now. They do it on the Switch 1 too, where you basically have to check a game out from your library and lock it to that Switch, and that's great, but you have to be online all the time to be able to do that. And I've told this story a handful of times, but we had our power go out for about 3 days, and my Switch was fully charged, and I've got a massive library of physical games, and I couldn't play them because of that stupid update. It just happened to update right before the power went out, and I couldn't check my games out with the virtual card library bullshit or whatever. So physical games that I played before, I couldn't play. It was very frustrating. I couldn't play any of my online games, that I downloaded because I don't own them. I'm just leasing them from Nintendo. And I really don't like the system. I think you should just buy a complete game on a disc or a cartridge and be done with it. So this comes from Kotaku. Video game console sales just flatlined ahead of the holidays as prices soar. They said even with the Switch 2, November was a terrible month for new hardware. Switch 2 sales are not that great. Actually, the PS5 did better than the Switch 2, which is just blows my mind, honestly. It's a new console. They said that the reports are the average price of a new console reached an all-time November high of $439, up 11% compared to a year ago. Back in November of 2019, the average was $235. That's partly the impact from Trump's trade war, which led Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, and all to implement multiple rounds of price increases in 2025. A new Xbox Series X, released 5 years ago for $500, is now $650 at Best Buy. And it's bad. It's not good. And a lot of people are going back to older games, and part of it, I think, is bullshit like this where you don't actually own your game. So there's this discussion going on right now that they're going to get rid of the game key cards. This comes from WCCF Tech. They said game key cards are not going away. They're trying to explain what's going on here, but I think that they're going to become less popular with publishers. Nintendo Switch 2 smaller capacity cards won't reportedly matter due to rising cost of materials. Through an official confirmation, though an official confirmation has yet to be provided, it's all but confirmed that more Nintendo Switch 2 cartridge options are being offered to publishers. According to NN Games, 2 new smaller cartridge sizes were announced this week by Nintendo, allowing the publisher to release R-Type Dimensions 3 on a physical cartridge in Europe. So apparently what's going on is because of the cost of everything going up, they were basically telling developers, well, you have to do a game key card. But now they're like, okay, well, we can do smaller cartridges and you can just release it physically. because people that collect old games, especially, or reimaginings or remakes or sequels to old games or whatever. I would say whatever's in that retro gaming vein, right? In that ecosystem, those people want physical media. I know because I collect this stuff. They want physical media. They want to know they own their game, right? So the downside is that the price of the game will increase by 10 euros, essentially confirming that some publishers will still prefer using game key cards to keep the cost down. Will players accept that, though? Some of them will, but I don't think collectors, I don't think old heads like myself will. So this comes from NN Games. They said, we're happy to share a positive update regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 version of R-Type Dimensions 3. There's no better timing. 2 days ago, Nintendo announced 2 smaller cartridge sizes for the Switch 2. This allows us to recalculate production in that way. So here's the original story. So the launch of the Switch 2 earlier this year was accompanied by a radical change for retail releases with the game key cards, which I hate. Everybody hates them, which essentially act as a bridge between a retail and digital release, requiring users to download the full game on their systems to play it, using said cards as sort of an access license. What is the point? What is the point? If you need a virtual game card or whatever to play your game, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Although the community has been very vocal about their dislike over these releases for justifiable reasons, it seems like game key cards are here to stay, even with Nintendo attempting to address the issue that made many developers pick this format over a traditional cartridge. As reported by Nintendo, the Japanese company is seemingly producing smaller capacity Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges that would allow more developers to publish proper retail releases on their games. So yeah, they kept trying to give all kinds of stupid excuses. Oh, this is to save money, whatever. And I think the publishers are pushing back because they know that gamers aren't going to buy these. Not in the numbers that they would if it was a physical cartridge. Yeah, so Nintendo said, I can confirm that smaller capacity Switch 2 game cards are in production, but due to chip shortages, wouldn't be Nintendo if they have a chip shortage around the holidays. It will take time before we see widespread availability. Despite the smaller capacities, cards are going to be expensive. This person says, I think it's more important to make 64 gig cards as cheap as possible than to make smaller cards that will be similarly expensive per GB. Gigabyte, yeah. Insane to me the amount of games over 40 plus gig that aren't using the 64 gig cards, especially Street Fighter 6. Apparently the cost isn't lower than $10 US per piece. Street Fighter 6 isn't full price, but if it were, still be a large chunk of the price. A lot of these games, yeah, they don't need all that room, right? So like, why can't you release them physically? If enough of us refuse to buy key cards, I think they will. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. I refuse to buy Pokapia, because of the key cards, and I can't be the only one. I feel like this is phase 1 of them trying to get rid of physical media, and considering how they handle digital media, I can't support that. Yes, no, Michael, I agree with you 100%. They don't want you to own your games. Real question. What do you expect this to accomplish? Michael says, this is in deciding not to buy a game key card, voicing every chance I get. Best case scenario, Nintendo sees enough people doing the same and decides to encourage less key card usage for production. I have a problem with the key cards, yeah. This person says, I'm actually okay with game key cards as long as it's for larger games, but then I'm okay buying those. This release will be $40 and comes with a pack of Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy cards. That's cool. Final Fantasy 7 integrated. Cool. Well, they're not coming in my home. There you go. Could they have planned this out better? Unfortunately, we can't pin this on Nintendo. The chip shortages are probably due to the AI industry fuckery. That actually is somewhat true, but Nintendo is notorious for chip shortages. Let's be honest here. It's been pretty bad for a while, and that is true. And that's why we did that the Geekom mini PC review earlier today, that you can actually buy a mini PC for less than it costs you to buy RAM now, and it's got like 32 gig of RAM in it. It's not a beast. It's not going to run all the AAA titles at maximum settings, but it'll get the job done, right? It will, and you can play certain big end titles on it. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You'll have to figure that part out for yourself, but you can pretty much play anything up to like, PS3, PS4 level, but I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying it's possible. This sounds kind of desperate, right? Because if you look at the backlash, I mean, it's pretty insane. They're talking about boycott before. Switch 2 players suggest boycott of game key cards, coming from Vice. said following the news of game key cards being used more frequently next year, players are reacting by suggesting they should just boycott them. Oh yeah, it's the person we just talked about. Just don't buy them. What will happen to the Switch 2 price? Is it going to increase? Yeah, probably. It said Nintendo's been hit with a 41% price increase in DRAM. Same report claims that their cost in NAND memory is also up by 8%. And again, this is partially because of AI. It is. But this is part of the reason why the console sales are down. And I think Nintendo is desperate to get people to buy as much as possible. If they're not buying consoles, the people that have your consoles, you got to sell them games. And if they're not going to buy the games because they're not complete games on cartridges, well, then you have a little bit of a problem, don't you? It sounds like they have quite the dilemma they're going to have to figure out. Just give consumers what they want, right? That's all you got to do. Going to wrap it up. Please subscribe. We'll talk later.